Hey folks, thanks for tuning into the latest episode of Vinyl and Vision. Tonight's episode is episode 20. Finally a nice round even number. My guest tonight is Will Schaff. Will is a extremely talented and interesting local musician and artist. Artist primarily, but he's a great musician. As a matter of fact, you might be currently listening to a selection from one of the bands he has been part of, the Iditarod, and a song called Sparrow. Will's a super amazing artist, first and foremost. A very generous and kind-hearted person. It was a pleasure to have him on the show and to speak with him for a little while. We probably actually talked for way longer than this episode is. We hung out like all night, and it was amazing, and I hope to do it again with him soon. But more about Will. He's got a lot of things going on in his life which were cool, and we actually did not necessarily pay too much attention to during the interview, so let me just get those out here now. Is that he has a radio program. It's about an hour long. It's broadcasts on 100.1 FM in Providence. It's the Providence Community Radio Station. For those people who cannot tune into that because it's a terrestrial station here in Rhode Island, you can actually listen to his broadcasts on SoundCloud. I will link everything. There's that. There are his Flickr page, which you can see a number of pieces of his mail art and just art in general. And speaking of mail art, he has a series of postcards which he has just released with Frog and Toad, which is a local store in Rhode Island. So Will lives in a home called Fort Foreclosure, which is not just a clever name. He has literally pulled himself out of foreclosure 4 times, and that's where the name comes from. He has been able to do that through a Indiegogo campaign, which he had done a few years back. We talked about that briefly in the interview, but he does actually still maintain support through his community, through his Patreon page, which will be in the descriptions. So look for that link. So if you'd like to support him, and so that he can keep on creating the way he does, then that would also, of course, be much appreciated. And and so little different format tonight. He did not choose a record, so just based on the strength of his art and the amount of work that he's done and the types of the type of art that he's done for the names in music that he has done them for, I figured we would just focus on that instead of actually focusing on like a inspirational record to him. So yeah, a little different today. So I hope you enjoy it. Please, by all means, do all the things you do with the internet. Give all the likes, the shares, the follows on all of the medias, because it's everywhere, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and enjoy.
Have you seen Sonny's wire work?
Not recently, but a lot of it.
He just did a new series that he was exhibiting up in Arlington, Mass. And one of them is a self-portrait, but it's just him in his mail truck. And the mail truck's phenomenal.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that.
That's
cool. We had a lot of famous artists go through the post office. Musicians and artists and shit like that.
Sure.
A lot of famous people. That'd be cool if you were one.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm a big fan of the post office. I've been doing mail art now for close to 20 years.
Yeah.
And I love it. And I remember one of my favorite post office stories. Because, you get the occasional postal worker who will refuse to send something out because the stamp's not in the right place and the address isn't written there, but it's seldom.
Yeah.
I remember when I was living off of Thayer Street or near Thayer Street, the postal workers there, and we're talking now almost 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, the postal workers there were great, and they loved the envelopes I did. And at the time, since I was working at Kinko's, before I would send out an envelope, I always color copied it, so I had a document of it. And one day I came into the post office in the morning. I brought him 4 volumes of mail art that I had sent, including mail art that had been sent back to me. I'm like, oh, you guys enjoy this? I'll pick them up at the end of the day. And I came back at the end of the day to pick it up, and they'd been so tickled by it that they said, we gave you a little surprise. And there must have been like $75 in stamps in there. We said, we tried to pick good ones for you so you can use them on your envelopes and stuff. I thought that was
cool.
super. That was super sweet. And then my postal workers here in Warren are just fantastic. I mean, I've put them through more than a few moments. I remember at one point I was just trying to see how large a postcard I could make before they told me to stop. And I got to 4.5 feet by 4.5 feet before they said undeliverable.
Really?
Yeah, and the only reason they said undeliverable was because they put on the scale and they put in the dimensions. And because of the computer couldn't understand why something could be so big but so light, and so it just came back as undeliverable.
Oh.
So 4.5 feet. That one up there actually is one of the first ones I did. That stencil on cardboard is the first postcard. I mailed those overseas. I mailed them around the country.
On the left?
Yeah, the one of that figure whispering to Christ.
Oh, okay.
That was the first giant postcard I did.
I didn't realize it was a postcard.
Yeah, you put a stamp on the back of it, put an address. It's a postcard.
There you go. Wow, that's awesome. No,
Yeah.
man, that's great. I mean, so you compiled all the mail art to like any kind of book format, or?
I do have my early stuff in book format. It's 5 different volumes, 5 or 6 different volumes. And then once I left Kinko's, and I got my first scanner, then I've just been keeping it online.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think right now online there's a couple thousand envelopes online of mine that I've done.
Wow.
And then as for ones I'm getting, when I get ones I really like, I staple them up in the bathroom there. So as you use the facilities here at the fort, you can enjoy wonderful mail art from around the world.
Look at that. So how do you find the people that you correspond with?
Originally, when I first started doing it, and this was in the earlier days of the internet, I would just go on to like whatever sort of, I would actually go on to dating sites. And I'd write people in like, look, I'm not here to date you. I don't want to date. But I'm looking for pen pals. Because I didn't
like share
realize.
buddy. Share buddy.
Right. And I guess I didn't actually get many pen pals from it, but I did get a few, and some of which I still actually write to today.
That's cool.
It is cool. I mean, I love getting mail. Who doesn't like getting mail that's not a bill?
It's true.
But over the years, you know, as my work's become better known, and as I become busier, I can't do as much mail art as I used to. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a bummer in the sense that I still get people saying, hey, you know, they see what I post on Instagram or whatever when I post mail art. They say, I want to trade with you. And sometimes they'll say, okay, let's do it, but it's going to probably be a year before you get anything. Or I'll say, sorry,
Yeah.
I got too many, I'm already writing. Like now I actually have regular correspondence. Friends from California that I stay in touch with. My mom, try to send her one every once in a while. Just things like that. I got a buddy, Mark Padine, the original drummer from the Eyesores. He and I are doing a year-long mail art trade because he's trying to get back into doing art again. And so the deal is once a month I make these big postcards.
Right.
And we just send each other mail art.
Cool. That's great.
It is great, and I love the idea of postal workers along the way seeing it, hopefully bringing a smile to their day.
Yeah, it's true. I've seen some stuff which is like, none of it's like, I don't think I've ever seen anything too impressive yet. For the most part, it's the stamps that I like. Like some of them, some of the international stamps and stuff are pretty amazing.
Beautiful, and I've tried applying for stamps. You know, once in a while the post office has, you know, submissions for new stamps. I've yet to get it. That would be a real watermark for me.
I think you just have to make sure that they know about you, like you and like Sonny as well. Like if he's making art specifically about the post office, like you just have to like market that to them, like get in touch with the right people, like their marketing division.
Maybe. I
And
guess
be
I've
like,
never
we had
tried
this
that.
art. We had this like, you know, legitimate like, you know, mail art, whether it be mail carrier associated, you know, just the image of the vehicle or uniform, something like that. Or you just actually using the postage to get through to and from the mail, like that shit that they eat up.
I was just in Taiwan. My wife's from Taiwan, so we went back to visit her mom and all this stuff. And while I was there this last time in Taipei, they have a whole postal museum there. It was phenomenal. Not only was it focusing on, excuse me, the Chinese postal system, but they had one whole room, drawers upon drawers upon drawers, walls upon walls with sliding racks that just were the postage stamps throughout the ages.
Yeah.
From around the world. What a trip that was.
Cool.
It is, because to me, well, one thing that really got me interested in postal stamps were fascist dictators.
Oh. Yeah.
So.
Other portraits.
Well, not just portraits. There's two things dictators will do when they take over a country. They usually reissue new money, and they usually reissue new stamps.
Oh shit.
And if you think about it, both stamps and both stamps and money are what a country uses to show the rest of the world what their culture is, who they are.
Or what we share with them, I guess, maybe even.
Well,
It kind of goes into circulation and kind of like goes around.
But no, for instance, like I'm saying, for instance, France before the euro came around and totally made all money fucking boring.
Right.
Oh, matter of fact, I can show you right here. So, one of my collections, I collect paper currency from around the world. So France, is it gonna fuck it up if I'm sitting over here?
No, you're fine. Man.
So France had this one bill I always loved with the little prince on it. You know, they're showing you that they are a culture of art and writing. Yeah, little prince is on there.
This is the France.
That's the French 50 franc before, but I mean, francs don't exist anymore because now they're all in the euro.
Yeah, probably European Union.
But to show you what I'm talking about and how countries want you to be known, when Pol Pot took over Cambodia.
Yeah.
Cheers. When Pol Pot took over Cambodia, the money he created, instead of having, say, you know, if you look at a lot of this Cambodian money, it has a beautiful image of Angkor Wat and all these other wonderful things. In this case, you will have on one side people working in the fields. Mind you, one of those people working in the fields has an AK-47 on their back. And then if you flip it over, it shows someone just with a straight out machine gun shooting at somebody.
Oh yeah, I see. Okay. Oh Jesus, yeah.
So
Wow.
he's letting you know what their country is about through that.
This is numbers. Oh, well, yes, it's some serial numbers, right? So
No, it's from 1975.
yeah,
But
amazing.
so with postage stamps, the first one that really caught my attention, I did when I was in college. Besides studying art, I did Holocaust studies. So I spent as a minor, and actually even afterwards, I spent years studying the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And one thing I came across were these stamps from, I can't remember what year it was, but it was in the 30s, pre-World War II, before, you know, the invasion of Poland, but after Hitler came to power in 33. And it was this very beautiful, very striking and strong drawing of a sort of, you know, you're looking up at this sort of very Teutonic SS soldier. Now, it just dawned on me when I saw the stamp, you know, I don't know how many hundreds, maybe thousands of letters a day people were writing back and forth over the borders. Pen pals, business, whatever the fuck. This is just a stamp. They look at, they put it on there thinking nothing of it.
Yeah.
But the postal foreshadowing of all those little SS soldiers going into France daily told you what was going to be happening in the coming years.
Yeah.
And that's just when it dawned on me, like, holy shit, these things are incredible representations of places, but also sometimes foreshadowing of some really horrible shit to come.
Almost a messaging service.
Yeah.
Like just in itself and its artwork.
So that just is what got me into the stamps. I just love stamps.
That's cool.
Love them.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't been paying too much attention to it, so I'm not sure how much of that I've seen. Luckily, there's no Donald Trump fucking stamps yet.
Well, there's gonna be, of course. You know, I mean, one of the traditions of a president
Right.
after they've died is to have stamps.
Well, at least
so at least
they'll
they'll
be
be
dead.
dead. Yeah. But the sad thing, I mean, here's a fun U.S. postal fact. There's only ever been 2 stamps after being issued that have been recalled and discontinued.
Okay.
One was back in, I think, 92 or 93 when I was living in Baltimore. It was celebrating, it was commemorating, not even celebrating, commemorating the anniversary of the bombs that fell on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Okay.
And it didn't show a mushroom cloud or anything on the stamp. It showed the Enola Gay, which was the plane that delivered the bombs. The Japanese government was incensed. And at the time, we were huge trading partners with them. So out of sensitivity to the Japanese, the U.S. Postal System pulled that stamp. A lot of people were in an uproar, why'd you pull it, blah, blah, blah. But it got pulled. Years later, the only other stamp to get pulled were the stamps of Richard Nixon. Because people were getting them and defacing them. Like putting them behind bars and doing all this. Like kind of actually doing their own little mail art in a very primitive way.
Yeah.
And because he had been a president, I guess someone in the Postal Service high up enough felt this was not appropriate.
Yeah.
And so they discontinued the stamp to stop all this defacing.
That's strange, especially considering it was a U.S. president. I mean, granted, he didn't have a great career.
Oh, people
but
still laugh. People still joke about it.
Yeah.
I am
Well,
not a crook, blah, blah, blah.
So
I mean,
maybe Trump will get his day, but maybe he'll
I can
also
see
be
the
the third.
stamps that are going to come out of that one.
You can make up some good art for that, I'm sure.
Oh, I sent him a portrait I did of him grabbing a woman's pussy, but I did it in this very I did it kind of in the color schemes of a lot of the traditional presidential portraits you see.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, every president gets their portrait painted to either be hung in the White House or the National Gallery. I painted him this one of him grabbing this woman and sent him a copy saying that I offer it to them freely to use in the National Museum if they wish, but
Wow.
never heard back.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
think I'll ever hear back from
no,
them.
you won't hear back. I would love to know if he actually just even saw it.
I would highly doubt it.
Maybe he kept it for himself.
Maybe he beats off to it, who knows?
Yeah, maybe. It's like, oh, this guy really gets it.
This guy gets it. He gets my inner spirit.
Oh man, that's good. So going back to your art a little bit, I think you were touching on it, and I wanted to ask you, for all of the artwork that you do for the records, do you get to listen to the music beforehand,
Mm-hmm.
or is it just
That's part of the deal.
It always has. It always is.
Always. I've got very strict terms. If someone wants to commission me, whether it be for a record or just for something to keep in their house, I've got pretty strict terms that I send to them, and they have to agree to them before I'll agree to work for them. And when, in the case of bands, I say, you know, I need to hear the music. And as a result, you know, it's been pretty neat. Some of the things I've gotten to hear before anyone else, or you know, things. I mean, right now actually, there's an album, and I, by contract, can't say what it is, but I'm super excited because people don't even know this thing exists, and I know they're gonna be very excited when they hear it.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
and
cool.
it's so neat to get to after this all stops recording, we can put on some of it because I think it's a band you like.
Oh, okay. Cool, man. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's but for me too, it's also so neat to get to be a part of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm completely flattered and honored that I get to be a part of it. I'm always amazed people get excited about using my work on something as precious as this thing they spent all this time making.
Right. Right. Well, I don't know. Do you feel like your artwork has kind of been kind of catered to the music scene now, where like you feel like musicians seek you out because they fall in love with these records, that now they associate your image with that?
There's some of that. As a matter of fact, I would imagine there's all of that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, you know, had I not done artwork for Godspeed, or done all the artwork I did for Ockerville, or done artwork for, say, like Songs Ohio and Magnolia Electric.
Yeah.
Those are the type of bands that have fans that look and find out who the artist is.
Right.
And then I know a lot of people, last year I got to do an album for an artist I'd never heard before. Beautiful album. I think the artist's name was Bowery Boy Blue. That was either his name or the name of the album.
Mm-hmm.
But he commissioned me specifically because he was a friend of Jason Molina's. He loved what I'd done for him. And so he's like, I want the guy who did that album cover to do mine.
Yeah.
So things like that, definitely, yeah. And again, I just thank God for that.
Right. That's great. Well, congratulations to you. I hope that it keeps on going. I hope that you find a lot more amazing art packs to work with, and that they seek you out. Because I assume it's good for you for your income and all.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
I mean, I try to keep it affordable
Yeah.
because, again, for as much as I've done some bigger names, most of the people I've worked for, this is just their own passion.
Right.
And even if they've got a label backing them, that label expects to get paid by fronting them that money. So I'm always, again, I'm humbled knowing some bands that cannot afford me that still afford me.
Yeah.
I mean, I charge for one image on a record. I charge $850. That's not a lot of money, but that's not a little money either. You know.
It's cost of doing business. I mean, artwork is not cheap in general.
It's not. It shouldn't be, considering the fact that it's one of a kind, or in the sense of a band.
Yeah.
You are hoping that maybe not so much anymore, because actually so much shit is digital. But back when LPs were, LPs and CDs were the way to get about, that image is helping to sell the record.
Yeah.
I think of labels that have, and I've actually gotten into some legal fights with certain labels that have continued to do mass promoting through posters and all this other shit, where the name of the band's tiny, and the image is huge.
Yeah.
And I didn't get paid for that. That wasn't part of the original deal I made with the band.
Right.
And if you feel so confident that this image is going to help attract you to see what this band is, then you need to pay.
That's is that an intellectual properties kind of argument or case there? What is that exactly?
Maybe. I would just say it's a respect.
Licensing?
Well, they should. Yeah, they're paying to use the artwork for something it wasn't intended for.
Right.
I'd run it for a record. They're using it for posters.
Yeah,
And again, like you take a look at Okay, take a look at that Ockerville River poster up there.
Right, for Black Sheep Boy.
Take
yeah.
all the artwork away and just leave that text there.
Right.
Is that a poster someone's looking at? Maybe because the text is so small that they'll be curious to see what it is, but it's not pulling you into the poster
Right.
as that image is. So at that point, they are monetizing that image, or they're using that image to monetize their product.
Right. Right.
So if you're going to do that, you have to pay extra.
I think that it's it warrants it. I mean, it's a what's the word I'm looking for?
Maybe reasonable?
Yeah, reasonable request.
Yeah.
For,
Same with shirts.
Yeah.
When bands, I do artwork for their band, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
want to do a shirt.
Right. Well,
I'm like, good. Well, you've got to pay me X amount up front.
Right.
Because you're making X amount off of each shirt.
Yeah. Yeah, shirts, total different deal because they make their money off of it, which
But they make their money off of posters too. Maybe they're not selling the posters.
it's promo.
But exactly,
Yeah.
that poster is getting the attention of someone who might not even know that that product exists.
Right. Yeah. But to speak to what you were saying about the people that are fans of those types of bands, those musicians that admire the artwork, vinyl sales are huge. I mean, that's kind of why I got
Are
into
they
this
still?
gig. They are now again. Actually, it's kind of a resurgence.
That's true.
Yeah, but so it's cool because I think that especially from all the people that I've already spoken with, that are obviously people that are mostly all vinyl enthusiasts to a degree. That's always the thing. It's always just like I love to sit with it and look at the artwork, and it's like right there and it's big, and I can like really kind of immerse myself in it.
Yeah.
And because listening to vinyl is like a really like a passion project where you have to kind of like designate time to listening to a record. Whereas, most people are just, putting it on their phones and plugging it into their car or whatever shit while they're doing something.
Right, screaming and all that
Yeah,
jazz.
yeah. It's like vinyl you sit down for. You put it on in a room, you sit there, you listen to it, so while you're sitting there, you most likely have the artwork open. If it's a gatefold, you got this big book in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
You got the lyric sheet possibly that you're reading along with the song lyrics.
You have to get up and flip the record when side one's over. There is no random shuffle.
Right.
You hear song 3 after song 2 and before song 4.
Right.
The ordering of the record now matters again.
Depending on how lazy you are, you might get up and skip to the next song, but you probably won't.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so it's really popular again. I mean, like vinyl record sales are actually in competition with CD sales again. Or actually, maybe
Are
that's not
CDs
even,
even
maybe
being
that's
sold
not even
anymore?
true. Maybe digital downloads is what I should say. But yeah,
Wow.
like it's neck and neck. It's like they're like hand in hand.
I'm surprised to hear.
Maybe it's good information for you. The next band that comes through, being like, hey, how do you do a promo poster for the album art?
Maybe. I mean, for me, because I usually deal with the bands. Once in a while I deal with managers, depending on the level of the band, but mostly I'm dealing straight with the band. And we figure all the shit that's getting done right off the bat.
Right. So how do you feel getting to meet a lot of these artists? Like,
I don't think I've met a lot of them. I mean, I've certainly communicated with a lot of them.
Oh, okay.
Probably, I've met fewer than those I've done art for.
Yeah.
But when I do get to meet them, it's great. And then it's also extra fun when I get to build relationships with them. I mean, Jason, is a great example. What started out just as us trading art through the mail turned into me doing his first record.
Yeah.
And turned into us just, continuing for the rest of his life. Correspondence through the mail, and whenever we come to town, we get together and shit. But our relationship was mostly through the mail.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was great. How great is that? Will Schaff of Ockerville River. I mean, all the years I worked with them, getting to spend the time with him, I do, because he would come before each record. He would usually fly out here, and we'd spend a few days together shooting around ideas, and he'd be playing me music and stuff. How wonderful is that? That's fantastic.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah. So
I met Will on one occasion. Seemed like a very nice guy.
he's a very nice guy. Ephraim is another one from Godspeed. I mean, I see Ephraim maybe once every 8-9 years, but whenever I do, it's always a joy just to hang out.
Right.
And just to, I don't know, one, it usually involves me getting to see a show. They're nice enough to get me in to see the show, but then two, just shooting the shit with them, just finding out what's up, catching up with their lives.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned Jason. Jason unfortunately passed away tragically.
Yep.
Not too long ago. I think it
6
always
years
seems
ago now, maybe?
it seems longer than it feels.
Oh wait, I'm 46. He died at 39. We were the same age, so. Yeah, so he's been dead 7 years.
Yeah. And here in this house, this is a multi-family house, and you live on the second floor?
Correct.
And then, what, Morgan Eve lives
Morgan
here?
Eve from Brownbird and Huntress is on the 3rd floor.
Right. And Dave lived here?
Yeah, Dave sadly died too. He was, I think, 6 years ago.
Yeah, it was around the same time. Huh? And he passed away in this house?
No, he was in the
hospice
hospital
care.
when he died. Yeah. He did spend a year of recovery in this house, and that's when, amazingly enough, he recorded that last album. I don't know if you've heard Access Monday.
Yeah.
And, you know, props to Seth Warren over at Machines with Magnets, because I have the demos, and the demos were the album. I mean, Morgan Eve added things to the demos.
Mm-hmm.
Other artists like Alec also added things to them. Yeah. But if you listen to because Dave was just, you know, while he was sick and kind of stuck up there, he was recording in the front room upstairs. And he was just recording with like some mics pointed at the drums, just as demos. I think the idea was to give them to James Maple, who was, after he got better, they were in a tour and James was going to drum. If you listen to the demos that I have, and then you listen to those same demos remastered by Seth, holy smokes.
Really?
Those drums sound like he was in a studio. It's incredible what Seth did with remastering that album, and it was incredible that Dave did it. There's only one song on that album where Dave's voice sounds weak. Yeah. You know, sounds sick. Right. And then it's incredible that Morgan Eve afterwards, you know, after Dave's death, that she went into the studio and fucking did that, because that's, you know, kicking the gut every day you're doing it. Right. Yeah. I mean,
especially so soon after. I mean, just still harboring that fucking horrible burden.
That whole album is just one example of another of people involved in that project who are just being incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. Real labor of love for sure.
Oh yeah.
Well, you know, sorry to bring it up. I mean,
no, it's life, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not to be dismissive of it. It sucks, but it's life. Not bringing it up does not bring them back.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I would hope to say that they also have a legacy that will now kind of carry on.
Oh, definitely. And especially when I think about Jason, you know, one thing people say is, oh, he died too young. Think about all the music he still had left to release. And it is true. He did die young. I don't know if it's too young considering what he was doing to his body. Right. And there is hundreds of cassettes of demo stuff that he's never going to release. But he also did more with his 39 years than most people will do with 80.
Yeah.
So to focus on the fact that he died young and isn't that sad, you might miss the fact that, holy shit, look at what he did. Just focus on that.
Right.
It's incredible. Same with Dave.
Shit, I'm 39 now. That fucking puts it into a way different perspective.
Yeah, he was dead at 39.
Oh. Yeah.
And you have outlived David Lamb by 3 years.
I can't say I'm happy about it, but it's cool. I mean,
we are fortunate.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there is reason to raise a glass to fortune.
Yeah.
But that's it. It's fortune. You know, it's good fortune for us, bad fortune for David, and I mean, fortune is nothing we can control. That's it. Bullshit. You want me to get you some ice? More ice for your drink?
Oh man, I'm a man. I can handle it.
You got it. You gonna go straight?
Yeah. I'm no prude. I'm not shy. I've dealt with worse. I can. Sure. Well, thank you again for having me and for allowing me a fine beverage.
Fuck yeah.
I don't want to end on a sad note. Is there anything you'd like to mention, or anything we forgot to touch on today?
Kid Dakota.
Kid Dakota.
You know Kid Dakota's music?
No.
Kid Dakota. And actually, Darren Jackson lived here in Providence. I met him in Providence when he was living here. We were neighbors on the east side at the time, and he is now in St. Paul, Minneapolis. He is an amazing musician with, I don't even know how many albums under his belt. He, like Redfern, is someone that not enough people know about. Yeah. He's got a cult following, but it's a small one. Mm-hmm. And I will say, to end on a good note, people should listen to the music of Kid Dakota, especially his last album, Denervation, that came out last year. Absolutely astounding. Great harmonies, great songwriting, great musicianship. very good recording engineer, and he does it mostly all himself, right down to the recording. He is a powerhouse of a person.
Wow. Cool. Well, I will try to check it out. Sounds good, Will. Thank you again.
Cheers. This was fun. Thank you,
Cheers,
James.
man. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, podcast listeners.
Thank you.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, man. That was good.